What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Ginn podcast. This is your host, Gilbert E. Sanchez. If you're new here, I appreciate you. If you're not new here, I appreciate you even more for sticking around and coming back to my platform. If you've seen the last episode, I really appreciate you. This is my third week in a row. I'm lying. This is my third episode in the last week and a half that I'm recording, and this is full launch into season 6. And I figured, why not put out episodes like the beginning, like the basics? I went back to the basics, and I am releasing episodes now talking about my mindset, talking about mental health, talking about my drive, my discipline, my motivation. I don't know if I already said that, but I am just talking about everything about me in hopes that, again, going back to the basics, in hopes that if one person hears it and they change their mindset, they change their ways, then I've done my fucking job. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. This episode is going to be about success and fulfillment. Now, when I think about success, there's a ton of definitions, and I used to have one meaning of this, and I'm drawing a blank on this, but I had an interview, I want to say 2021, at the end of, I think it was November of 2021. I had an interview with Question, a rapper. He's doing other things right now in San Antonio, but I'm trying to think of it. Can't remember. Well, anyways, I've learned that everybody has a different meaning of success, and that's cool. That is awesome. I encourage everybody to dibble dabble in their own version of success, because that's what it means to you. If you've reached that level, kudos to fucking you. If you haven't reached that level, let's keep fucking grinding. Now, for me, success now, me talking to you now, May of 2026, it's about eating good food, whole foods. It's about exercising. It's about being active. It's about taking care of your family and friends. So it's about having a good paying job. It's about doing the regular shit. And I want to start off with something personal. This is always going to be personal. My platform is always personal. And I wouldn't say social media lied to me, but social media definitely had a huge effect on me starting my business, on me promoting this platform, on me gaining followers and quote unquote success at the time of my platform in 2021, 2022. It had a lot to do with it. When I realized that shit was going downhill quicker than ever, losing momentum in the podcast, my business failed. Just times were fucking hard. COVID was still happening. Times were hard. I started to realize that my version of success wasn't a success anymore. It was something that was left in the past, and I had to revise that. I had to revise what was going on in my life at the time that I can pick back up and be like, hey, this is my version of success now. Along with success comes fulfillment. Now, when you reach certain goals, there is a type of satisfaction, there is a type of fulfillment. What that fulfillment is can be all sorts of things. If this shit makes me feel warm and fuzzy, if this shit makes me like I'll give you a perfect example. When I used to do last year, the years before, when I used to do podcast episodes with guests, every single time I left a podcast episode, I was like, damn, this fucking feels good. And I knew I was on the right track because that shit made me warm and fuzzy. As silly as it sounds, that's what kept me going day in and day out when I was releasing episodes for previous seasons. For you, fulfillment might be different. For you, fulfillment might be the joy that your kids have. That might give you satisfaction. Fulfillment might be running a long distance run, or exercising, or lifting different weights at a PR, or just anything that brings you satisfaction, quote unquote, is fulfillment. I'm going to give you another example. When I first got into the car business, I was like, okay, this is where I want to be. This is what I like doing. I like helping people. I love the high that I felt when I sold a car. I realize that now, but at the time I didn't really understand it. But I got a fucking high from selling the car. And anybody that knows somebody in the car business or is in the car business knows that once you sell a car, you're on top of the fucking world. I love that. I needed that. And when I didn't have a car sale, or when I didn't get my monthly goal of selling vehicles, I was depressed. I was feeling sad. I was mad. I was angry at the fucking world. So the ups and downs of success, fulfillment, hitting your goals, it's a fucking balance that I think you really, really have to figure out. I think when I really got fulfillment recently is when I got my cybersecurity job. If you're new here, you don't know anything about my previous talks or episodes, I got into cybersecurity at the age of 30. And after 6 months, I worked hard, built up different projects, got certifications. And when I first got that offer, it's so surreal because you think it's not happening, but it's fucking happening. And when I got that, I just was like, this is it. Like this is something that I've worked towards. This is something that I dreamed about. This is something I wanted this and I made it fucking happen. And that moment it brought a lot of fucking joy, happiness, fulfillment to me, to where I started making cybersecurity content. I started talking about my cybersecurity journey and seeing the amount of people that are trying to break in, that are 5, 10, 15 years in, that are managers, that are security engineers, that are security architects, that are just been in the game for years. Making those connections is fucking insane. It is literally insane. I thought getting that offer was going to be, I didn't think it was going to lead to this. I didn't think that my YouTube channel previously was going to turn into a cybersecurity channel just based off the people that channel brought in. It's insane to think about, but that right there is another example of success and fulfillment. So for this first segment of this episode, I want to talk about the achievement trap. And this is basically when you grind every single fucking day, you work hard and you have a goal. You get to that specific goal, and once you're there for a day, 2 days, a month, even a couple months, you realize that what you thought it was is not really what it is. And this can be a number of things. It can be going back to selling vehicles. It can be reaching a certain goal, making a certain amount of money, and you reach that goal and you ended up spending it, or you ended up just doing bad shit with it where it's like, okay, now I got to go and sell another 30, 40 cars a month to get back to where my lifestyle is. Or you get a promotion and the respect that you think you would have got based off the position that you're about to be in or you're in already is not what it is. I've been in a lot of achievement traps. One of the biggest one was getting my college degree. My college degree started off as cybersecurity, quickly turned into, not quickly, 2 years after I started, it turned into something totally different. I do and I don't use my degree because I only graduated to have that piece of paper and to gain what it felt like. Honestly, just really get that piece of paper and make my mom proud and say I had that piece of paper. But in reality, I didn't use it at all. I went straight into the car business right after I graduated, literally a week or 2 weeks after. And then for the next 4 to 6 years, I was on and off. I mean, COVID happened, so you couldn't really predict that. But that was one of the things that I was fucking grinding hard. I was working full time. I was going to school full time. Family, friends. I mean, it was pretty tough. So getting that achievement of walking the stage, looking back on it, yeah, it's cool. But I mean, was it really worth the student debt? Was it really worth the time and money? Was it really worth everything that I thought it was going to be? In my opinion, I don't think so. Because I think I did college wrong. I think I didn't network enough, and I think I didn't do any internships. Now, the biggest thing people tell you now, looking back, is to network like crazy, meaning the people in your courses, talk to them, make friends, because they're in college too and they're graduating. They might be on to something that you have no idea that they're doing, or they might get that job that you can get a referral from. The other thing, internships. I wholeheartedly wish I did internships or even thought about doing internships. I don't even think I knew about internships when I was in fucking college. That's how like far fetched, like, that's how I just didn't fucking know. No one told me. I just really didn't know. So that's my example of the biggest achievement trap that I think I've gotten. I think another achievement trap is the first time I actually hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. That was pretty fucking crazy because I think this was like mid 21, late 2021. And at that point, I was on a fucking high. I was releasing episodes. I was doing everything I could to get myself noticed within San Antonio, within Texas, within Houston, within Austin, that I was doing everything. I was recording, I was editing, I was doing everything myself, including my boy Jay. Shout out to my boy Jay. But it was like a cohesive thing that we were just going back and forth, back and forth. There was times where he would be doing things and I wouldn't get audio at a specific time frame for my liking, and then I would have to do the audio, or vice versa. He would want to be doing the audio, and then I would send it late. So it was just all types of mix-ups. But I got to a point on Instagram where I reached that, and then I put out a posting. I want to say of some T-shirts, of a giveaway. I'm drawing a blank on what this actually was, but it's November 2021, and didn't end up happening. Shit went downhill real quick when it came to funds. I had funds that I had to pay rent with. I had funds that I had to put gas in my car because I was doing DoorDash around that time because the money wasn't coming in. There's a lot of things that I was doing to me that was an achievement trap because my mind fucking wasn't right. Because I used to do dumb shit. So if you're doing dumb shit, stop doing dumb shit. One more thing I want to talk about when it comes to the achievement trap is social media. I talked about social media, and when you post something, I talked about this previously on my podcast episode. When you post something, I need you to detach yourself from the outcomes that video, that content, that anything will do, because there's been times where I've spent hours, and I mean hours, on specific content. It does nothing. It goes nowhere. It does nothing. And that was all because I spent so much time and I had this thought in my head that if I do this amount of effort, it's going to go fucking viral. Didn't happen. You'll be surprised at the videos you do post that you have zero intention, that you have zero editing, that you have just zero anything towards, that it will get more views than ever. And I'm going to tell you why, because you're being fully authentic in yourself and what you're doing and what you're posting. And that's what's going to attract the most people by far. So for section 2, I want to talk about why the goalpost always moves. Now, this is a good section because this has a lot to do with comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. And I will always say that. I won't always say that because I haven't, but I will always say that now. It's true. If you compare yourself constantly, and I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people out there. Social media has magnified this crazy. It's crazy. I was so trapped in being somebody I wasn't that I'll give you a real example. And this is going to all tie back in. I did a podcast with Mario the second time after his fight with Tank Davis. So this was like June, July of 2021. I want to say July, August, now that I'm thinking about it. And one of the first questions that I asked him, and I was watching this maybe about a month or two ago, one of the first questions I asked him was if he liked the new studio that I was in. I knew at that point in time, my mind was far way off than what it was supposed to be because I was in tune with comparison, because I looked at different podcasts at the time and they had studios. They had the video editing. They had the fucking amazing sound quality. They had everything that I was looking for. But I now realize that I was comparing myself where I didn't have to fucking do that. I'll give you another perfect example. T for Tammy. I had a podcast with T for Tammy. This was in 2021 as well. And if you're not familiar with Jesus, if she's hearing this, I'm gonna have to look up her name now. God damn it, I don't fucking remember, but I'm gonna call her the Pod Mother because that's what she recently, not recently, but she released an episode calling herself that, which is hilarious. And kudos to you for keeping this platform and keeping your platform alive and really well. But I had a podcast episode with her. at the time, she was somebody that I looked up to. She was my inspiration because she had, I want to say, damn near like 3 years in the game of podcasting. And I was so nervous to have her in that studio because I was comparing myself to her. And no shade to Tammy. I was comparing myself to her because she was in the game for so long. So I was trying to be perfect. But that goes back to comparing myself to other platforms, to her, to other people. I was so wrapped up in the fucking game that that conversation, yes, it went well, but I was out of loop of what was going on in that fucking conversation. I don't really remember it just because it was a bit ago, but I remember her saying something about the studio, something about the platform, something about something, and she was just like, "Trust me, you're doing a good job," or "Trust me, you're really doing it," something along that lines. But that was me comparing myself to other fucking people because the goalpost always moves. The comparison always fucking moves. I'm going to tell you another reason why the goalpost always moves is because people are always fucking working. If you're always working, like for me, for example, I'm always working. The goalpost always moves. So if someone outside is looking at me, their comparison towards me is going to always move because I'm always fucking going. I'm always on the go. If you're exactly like that, if you own a business, if you work hard at work, if you have a 9 to 5, if you run a fitness club, if you do anything and you're working hard and you get goals and you have different achievements, that goalpost is always moving for somebody else because they're comparing yourselves to them, which is fucking wild. No way somebody should live like that. No way that somebody should always be worried about somebody else because in my eyes, you should have so much shit going on that you should have trouble to keep up with social media, family, friends, kids, pets, whatever you have going on, your 9 to 5. You should have so much shit going on in your life that shouldn't even be a fucking worry. I'm gonna loop this back in. So the goalpost always moves because, of course, other people work hard, you work hard. But I think it always moves because you can't really sit down with yourself and ask yourself why. Why do I want 10,000 subscribers? Why do I want 10,000 followers? Why do I want 1 million subscribers? I think you slow yourself down when you figure out why you're actually doing it. Why are you doing any of the things that you're fucking doing? One of the things that I preach within this podcast episode is helping people. So I've transitioned and I have been transitioning my help, my energy, my attention to cybersecurity, and that is engulfing me in a lot of conversations. But the basis of it is helping. Perfect example. Usually, I don't talk much about cybersecurity on my Instagram just because I like to keep that stuff personal. But I had someone reach out to me, find my Instagram, talk about cybersecurity, asking a couple questions. And I had someone reach out last month with the same type of questions, entry level type things. And I was like, most of the talking, I told him most of the talking that I do is on LinkedIn, but I can answer you here. But I realized that these people are looking for some type of guidance. These people are looking for anything at all because I was there. I've done that. I've been there. So I was like, okay, let me not say that because that comes off as you have to be on this certain platform for me to actually help you and talk to you. Another guy reached out to me yesterday, day before yesterday, and I didn't even say anything. I just went straight into talking to him, asking him different questions, guiding him. But that was the basis of why I'm actually doing this, why I'm actually creating content specifically around cybersecurity is because I really just want to see people win. I want to see people win because I know it's fucking hard doing what I did in 6 months that takes most people 2 years. I skipped help desk, the IT support. I skipped that. I skipped tier one of cybersecurity, a SOC analyst, a cybersecurity analyst. I skipped 2 positions to get to where I am today. So for me to do that within 6 months is fucking insane. Now I'm using all that energy to put back into what got me here. All in all, you got to figure out why you're actually doing this because the goalpost is going to move every single fucking time. But for you to slow it down, ask yourself why. Why are you doing this? For section 3, we're going to talk about purpose and achievement. So I'm going to compare these two. Purpose is internal. That is going back to why you're actually doing this. Achievement is external. That is going back to the likes, the goals, the certain amount of followers on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Those are two different things. And I wholeheartedly think you have to separate those. You have to separate those because once you start to intertwine them, it becomes very, very difficult to get back out of that actual mindset. For me, I release podcast episodes now for the sole enjoyment of teaching people my mindset. I look at this podcast platform as something to where I just release, like it's a release for me, meaning sounds kind of fucking weird. It's meaning that the helping part, it goes back to the helping part. That's my purpose, help. This is going to be kind of similar, but I think you have to separate it for sure. You have to separate it because you're going to get trapped in achievement. 100%. I've done it. I'll give you an example of achievements. I've achieved 6 years of running this podcast platform. And this is how you know I'm not doing it for anything other than just helping people. And I will continue to do this because I have got $0 from podcasting. Zero. I've actually lost money from podcasting. I've paid for studios. I pay for equipment. I pay for anything you can think about that comes with podcasting where I have made nothing. The podcast guests that I used to have, it would be solely on relationships. It would be solely on friendships. It would be solely on word of mouth. It would be solely on people that I've seen the content that they were just fucking with the actual platform. I've heard and I've seen people pay other people to be on their platform. And one, I couldn't afford it. Two, I personally just don't think that's the way podcast episodes should be. And I think now that podcasts are really, really popular, it's a mutual thing. There are some people that pay people to, but it's a mutual thing nowadays. I've seen that now. It's grown, but I was solely doing it for the purpose of showcasing people's skills, people's mindset, people's achievements on my platform to where it can be showcased around the fucking world on the internet. So now I really just do it for the love of the fucking game. Now I really just do it just to put myself out there. Now I really just do it because I realize that so many people don't have the mindset that I have. And once they hear me, once they switch their mindset, once they start switching a lot of things, that their life can be just so much better. Depression, anxiety can go away. Getting that car, that job, that house you want can be achievable. It can be achievable. I wholeheartedly believe that anybody and everybody can get what they actually want if they just work hard, they have a good mindset, and they treat people the right fucking way. All right, guys, we got to close this out. So for this last segment 4, I'm going to give you 3 ways to close that gap that we talked about. First up is the purpose audit. Why are you actually doing this? So if you have time today, tomorrow, next fucking year, get a piece of paper out, figure out why you're doing what you're doing. If you're making content, why you're making content. If you have a business, why are you doing that business? If you have a family, if you have kids, if you have certain things going on in your life and you're figuring out if you should do it or not, write it down as far as why are you actually doing it, figure out the purpose, and figure out how much it means to you to actually keep doing it. Another thing, detach yourself from fucking achievements. Yeah, it's cool to reach certain achievements. Yeah, it's cool that you can get the reach that you have. Yeah, it's cool to do all these things in life, but are you satisfied with those achievements at the end of the day? Is that success going to fulfill what you have in your single body to where it's like, yeah, let's do it fucking again? If it is, cool, do it again. If it's not, you might want to switch up your ways. And then the last one, we talked a lot about a comparison. You have to build your identity. Build your fucking identity. What do you like doing? What don't you like doing? Do you like going different places? Do you like working out? Do you like not doing? What do you like and what don't you like? Set up your identity to make sure you are who you say you are, because once you start viewing people as other success, once you start viewing other people's achievements, other people's cars, houses, comparison is a thief of fucking joy. That will lead nowhere. It will be a terrible life for you if you're always thinking about somebody else when you should think about What are you doing in your life? How can you get better? What can you do to have a better life for your kids? What can you do better? What can you do better to have a better life for your mom and dad? Anything under the sun that you can think about when it revolves around you, your identity, what can you do to make it better will be 10 times better than comparing yourself to anybody else. All right, so I want to end with this. The grind isn't the enemy, the content isn't the fucking enemy, the goals aren't the fucking enemy, but the enemy is not asking yourself why you're actually achieving what you're achieving. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do when trying to build a platform, trying to grow a business, trying to do anything in life is not sitting down and asking yourself, why am I fucking doing this? Why does this even fucking matter? And once you figure that out, everything is going to come full circle and you're going to thrive more than ever. If you're still here, I really, really appreciate you. Do me a huge favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Again, guys, this was episode 129. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you're on podcast platforms, do me a huge favor, submit a rating, 5 stars. I really, really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next episode, guys. Peace.